Aloha Oinala, everyone. Today is Thursday, September 26, 2024, and it's 2:34 p.m. I call the Kapiolani Park Trustees meeting to order. I'd like to welcome Trustees Cordero, Sei, Okimoto, and Tolba. Trustees Kiaina, Tupola, Waters, and Wire are excused from today's meeting. Before we start our meeting, I have some procedural announcements to make. Welcome, Councilmember Wire. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony in person in the council chamber or remotely on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up. All persons who registered to testify in person will be called upon first, followed by those who registered remotely. I'll then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to speak following the registered speakers. Before testifying, each person shall state their name for the record and will be limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. For remote testifiers, when your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes in remote meetings to be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, if any objections are noted, I'll call for roll call vote. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described in the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Thank you. Before we get into item number 1, I'd like to welcome Chair Waters to our meeting. And we will dive in now to informational briefing item number 1, which is the update by the Department of Parks and Recreation on park activities in fiscal year 2024 and the first quarter of FY25. Members, please note that we have distributed a copy of the department's presentation to each of you, and for those of you watching online, it is available on the City Council's website as DocuShare document Departmental Communication D700. So I'd like to turn it now over to the Department of Parks and Recreation for the presentation.
Aloha Council members, trustees. My name is Kimberly Rebellia, Administrator for the Executive Services Division for the Department of Parks and Rec. With me today, I have Director Laura Thielen and DPR Planner Jennifer Barra here with me as I give my presentation. We are here to provide an update on park activities for fiscal year 2023 and 2024 for parks that fall within the Kapiolani Park Trust, which are Kapiolani Regional Park and Paki Community Park. We'll be covering an update on park programming, park permitting, repair and maintenance activities, and capital improvement projects. Since the last data provided in the last triennial report, we are pleased to let the trustees know that park programming continues at Paki Community Park. DPR offers spring, summer, and fall programs for tiny tots, children, adults, and kupuna. Classes include tiny tots, basketball, volleyball, various craft classes, drawing, mahjong, moving to the oldies, and senior crafts. In 2023, the park serviced 587 participants, and in 2024, we serviced 516 participants. For permitting, this slide provides a list of recurring major permitted events that occur at Kapiolani Regional Park and permitted sports activities such as softball, kickball, soccer, rugby, lacrosse, tennis, pickleball, and volleyball, to name a few. In 2023, 579 park usage permits were issued, and from January 1st to August 31st of this year, DPR has issued 556 park usage permits. To ensure Kapiolani Park fields are not overused, DPR closes the sports field annually from August 1st through Labor Day for field maintenance. Trying to help the park recover. The next slide shows that from our data collected, you can see that Kapiolani Regional Park is well used. Since our last update, DPR has taken steps to track the number of work orders requests for repair and maintenance at the park. In 2023, the Department of Parks and Recreation Maintenance Support Services received and completed over 147 requests for repairs ranging from carpentry to welding. And in 2024, MSS has so far received 140 requests for services. As mentioned in the slide, our MSS division has been able to complete the renovation of the Dillingham Fountain and repaint lines at the parking lot adjacent to Waikiki Shell. As part of DPR's efforts to be more water and energy efficient, DPR contractor Noresco has made improvements to lighting fixtures and installed water-saving plumbing fixtures throughout the park. Sorry, such a slow transition. And lastly, DPR is very excited that the reconstruction of the shared use pathways throughout the park are complete. This project was funded over several fiscal years at a total cost of a little over $2.5 million. And so we have pictures of our brand new walkway out there that people use every day. Nice, short and sweet. This concludes DPR's updates to the trustees on DPR activities since the last triennial report, and we are available to answer any questions.
Members, any questions for Ms. Aurelia or the DPR team that's here? Okay, seeing none, thank you for, Vice Chair Cordero.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Velia. Thank you very much for your presentation. For the Noresco maintenance, is there a schedule that you have with Noresco to check up on the newly installed either lighting and plumbing fixtures, and how often that happens, and et cetera?
I have Director Thielen who could take that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So we have an agreement with Noresco to do the construct or implement the water and energy savings. And there is, under that contract, some contractual obligations for them to do some of the maintenance. We maintain some of the maintenance obligations that we traditionally do, but for the new types of things, they may be maintaining them. So let me give you an example. Some of the irrigation that they put into replacing our old irrigation with weather sensitive and online irrigation, they did extensive training of our staff for maintaining that, but there may be pieces of that equipment, if it goes down, that might be required under their contract to replace. So the answer to that would vary depending upon the type of improvement.
I see, thank you. And so does that mean you have criteria, like, 2 days ago we were talking about like a dollar amount per equipment. Would it be based off of that type of criteria, or just availability that MSS may have versus what Noresco may have?
I think it was, a lot of it was in the contract negotiation between the city and the energy saving contract. Some factors may have come in, like under the collective bargaining, you know, not to usurp the traditional maintenance we do. And some of it may have been just the technology that they were bringing in and the warranty type of things. So that all would have been negotiated when we came up with the project list.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is for the, I guess, how often it would have to be looked at for maintenance, because the reason I bring this up is in the budget, I would often look at, like, if your department decides that you need to fund lighting again, and then we see that Noresco just put it up maybe, 2 years ago or a year ago or whichever. I guess, do you have like just a timing schedule for that part?
Right. So the Noresco contract will require them to show that the cost of the improvements that went in will be more than recouped over a 20-year period. So they are obligated to show the energy savings from that improvement over time to prove the cost savings to the city. So we should not, because we have a list of all the improvements they put in. BFS has that list, we have that list, they have the list, and they're having to monitor it. We should not be looking at replacing those items unless there were something like a fire that went through an area or something like that that was unexpected, and I don't know what the contract terms would be for that. We do have a significant number of light poles, though, and lighting, and so they only did a finite number. So there is other projects that we're going to be doing for replacement of lights, and we are looking at a phase 2 contract with NORESCO that would have to be negotiated. But if we can go through that negotiation and the city can find that there is a benefit to getting a cost and energy savings benefit, and again, for our department, we're trying to overlap it as much as possible with CIP improvements that are needed. And so if we can hit that sweet spot again and get another project list, then we could go forward with some more improvements under a energy savings contract.
Thank you. And since this is, I guess, a last two-part question, but my last question for maintenance. For Kapiolani Regional Park and its facilities, we know that it's utilized really well. So for, you were talking about the contract and then, or whether or not your MSS is able to provide the maintenance or whatever. Is it really flexible or too flexible? Because I know there are instances in other parks where sometimes between either contracts and between MSS, sometimes, I don't want to say disagreements, but deciding who would take the project on may also cause delay. I just want to ask if the contract will, I guess, assure that a park like that so utilizes this park would be able to have a quick decision and then be fixed quicker.
So again, for the NORESCO, their obligation would be in writing, and it would be specific to the improvements that they put in. And so while we are thrilled with the about $40 million worth of capital improvements, we know where they are. So for example, the pool pumps, they replaced 14 pool pumps and chlorination system. Those pumps go down, that chlorination system goes down, we turn to NORESCO and we would discuss, does the contract require them to do the repair for that particular issue? If it's a pool pump issue in any of the other 6, 7 pools, sorry, I had to do math really quick, then that's on us. And so it's pretty clear where we would need to discuss with them. And then if it is an improvement that NORESCO did, which again is the minority of things that are going wrong in the parks, because we have a lot of parks and a lot of improvements they did not touch. So that's clearly, MSS, or if we're doing electrical, we're working with DFM or DDC. But if it is a NORESCO thing, it will be very clear in the contract what their responsibility is and what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director, and thank you, Mr. Rebellia.
Members, any other questions? Chair Waters.
Thank you. By the way, thank you so much for having this hearing. I think it's important for us to do this more often, and really appreciate it. So I was just reading, thank you folks too for your hard work keeping up Kapiolani Park, Kapiolani Regional Park. I'm just rereading the 11th Triennial Report, and just wonder if you guys could give me an update on certain things, just maybe 2 or 3. So I'm really happy to hear that we value Kapiolani Park and dedicate 55 maintenance workers to upkeep the park. Is that still the case? Do we still have 55 maintenance workers at Kapiolani Regional Park?
We would not have changed the authorized positions. The fill rate may vary, and so I'd have to go and get an updated fill rate table to give you that. But Kapiolani Park, we have a daytime morning crew, and then unlike every other park except Ala Moana, we also have a night crew that handles the beach side of Kapiolani Park and Waikiki. The Ala Moana crew only goes till 10 p.m. The Kapiolani Park crew goes till 11 p.m. So we have greater coverage for groundskeepers at that park than any other park on the island.
Thank you. You know, one of the recommendations was to study suggested charging for permits and parking, as well as facilitating additional opportunities for concessionaires and others. You know, I still recall vividly the controversy when the hula show by the Shell came up with the Kapiolani Park Preservation Society. So are we still looking at facilitating additional opportunities for concessionaires in light of what happened with the Preservation Society?
So I would defer to Department of Enterprise Services about what's going on at the Shell or the zoo or things like that. As far as the park goes, I know some people have talked about charging for parking at the park. There is parking along one side of the Makai side of one of the streets fronting the park. But this is a park that's serving an entire region and all of Oahu. And it's really important that everybody have access to a park, and not everybody can afford to pay for parking. And we want to make sure that our parks are equitably available to all people across the island. It's a beautiful park. The old trees that are there, it's a gorgeous place to go and have a picnic, you know, watch the moonrise over Diamond Head, kind of, you know, listen in on the Shell, which, you know, not that I did over the last weekend for the Nala'eo concert, but, you know, there were people out there. And it provides a recreational opportunity that's free. And given the cost of living in Hawaii, it's really important that we maintain these types of spaces. Most regions around the island do not have a park like Kapiolani, so we want everybody across Oahu to feel welcome here. So we do not have plans to charge for parking. We are not looking at concessions. We are looking at new recreational opportunities. So we're working with a bocce ball group that would like to have more of a formal court location. This council has asked us to look at sand volleyball, and because our beach spaces are limited, we're looking at areas that might be possible to do inland sand volleyball. You know, so there's other ways that we want to make spaces open, but not as a concession.
Okay, no, I just thought maybe a coffee cart might be nice. But thank you for considering sand volleyball. I think that was me who asked you about that. You know, also within the TRIENNIAL report, it talked about Central Park Conservancy funded by primarily individual donations. Does the Kapiolani Park Preservation Society raise money for the park?
We have not seen any history of the Preservation Society donating funds to the park. We would be delighted if they took on the role like the Central Park Conservancy. As you see in the annual report, the Conservancy raises a significant amount of funds for Central Park. I know when in New York, the Dumbo Park, the down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass, also has a community group that raises funds, and they pay for putting on a lot of the programming that is there. So we would welcome the Preservation Society stepping into that role, and we would love to have a partnership with them.
Yeah, same here. That's why I'm bringing it up, and I was hoping that they'd be here today. Perhaps I could suggest that personally. And then lastly, it talks about having a dedicated motorcycle, motor scooter, and moped parking area at Kapiolani Regional Park. You know, recently there was an issue with moped riders parking their mopeds at Makalei Beach Park on Diamond Head Road. And I wanted to suggest, hey, go park at Kapiolani Park. Can you tell me where that dedicated area is?
We do not have a space at this point, but I think for many of our parks, our roads are very crowded with cars, and we want to have alternative forms of transportation, multimodal transportation. The Department of Transportation Services is promoting that, and it takes less space, it's less pollution, but it also is a income and equity issue, because there are many people on Oahu that they can't afford a car, or they don't have a space to park a car, and the way they get around is through a moped or a bicycle. So we would like to be able to make these, instead of having them, I think the problem is more that they're just parked haphazardly all over, and perhaps to have a parking location for them, even in multiple parks, not just Kapiolani, could get them off of the sidewalks And then, maybe having entry points where there's some way that encourages dismounting, the way that we found with speed humps encourages people to drive the appropriate speed through some type of physical design to take care of the problem, which may be people riding on, across the sidewalk to a parking area. So we want to take a look at design options like this that can allow everybody to have access to our parks and to our beaches, and then see if we can make them safer and better managed by having dedicated spaces. So that is a long way of saying we don't have a location for Kapiolani or the other parks that you mentioned, but many of these areas may be suitable for having sites and a better managed entry point that keeps people safe.
Okay, no, the report says that there is a dedicated motorcycle, motor scooter, and moped parking area within the park. So this is inaccurate? There is not?
Let me get back to you.
Okay, and if there is, I'm just thinking, make it closer to Diamond Head Road. That way we can, forgive the saying, but kill two birds with one stone, right? So we can take care of parking for those folks. But thank you so much. Really appreciate this. And again, Chair Dos Santos Tam, terrific having this on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll take public testimony now on this first item. This is just on the informational briefing. I see we have Angela Melody Young here. If there's anyone else who'd like to testify here in the chambers, please line up at the microphone.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So we're talking about a comprehensive plan with the updates list. And so as an active community member, I'm just wondering if there will be planning for commercial activities and small businesses. Are they actively hunting down commercial activities? So under the direction of the rules which control business operations and permitting for park use, such as roasting huli-huli chicken, right? Businesses such as limited liability corporations are not approved to operate except a few permitted businesses such as surf schools. So nonprofits can operate because nonprofits don't make money from their operations. They don't sell an actual product, right? The business sells an actual product from the business. So a company such as a yoga school cannot operate, but a nonprofit school teaching like diving, right, can operate. So setting a standard for commercial activities, I think it's going to be something that you guys should think about.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, thank you. Seeing no one else here in the chamber, we'll move to remote testimony. Clerks, is there anyone who's registered remotely or standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Members, any discussion on this update, item number 1? Councilmember Say.
Yes, Mr. Chair, may I just say thank you to the director and a deputy, plus their staff. I've been very privileged to have attended Kapiolani Park on Saturdays and Sundays, Hapalua 50 half a marathon, the United Chinese Society, the Ukulele Festival, etc. And I just wanted to say thank you for your employees who are dedicated public servants also on a Saturday, Sunday. Thank you.
I'd like to echo that as well. Anyone else? Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to an update by the Department of Corporation Counsel on the 11th Triennial Kapiolani Park Trust Report. We have with us Erica Osterkamp, Deputy Corporation Counsel. But before we do that, maybe is there anyone who'd like to testify on this? Maybe we'll do testimony first, because I think we'll have some questions after. Okay.
I was thinking I'd like to listen to the presentation before.
Okay, we can do testimony afterwards then, that's fine. All right. Erica, take it away.
Good afternoon, Trustee Chair and Trustees. Deputy Corporation Counsel, Erica Osterkamp. So the last time I was up here, it was in anticipation of the June 20th hearing on our petition for approval of accounts. And so that hearing happened. And the judge approved the 11th triennial report, roughly covering the period 2020 to 2023. However, she did mention, and it's part of the order, and it was that she concurs with Attorney General's recommendation with respect to trustee meetings and encourages the trustees to hold more than one meeting a year where the topic of discussion is solely related to trust matters and whether the trust purpose is being followed. So it's not specifically ordered, but she encourages more meetings. I'll be available for questions.
Members, any questions? Councilmember Wire.
I was just curious, thank you, Chair. Is there any insight or thought about how frequent meetings should be? I know that suggestion was broad and anything's better than one, but was just curious.
So there's no specific mandate on how frequently the trustee should meet. My suggestion would be if there's a topic that comes up, like commercial activity or something related to the trust, then have a trustee meeting.
Okay, or maybe like when there's a big event there, maybe a debrief after or something. I don't know, is that too vague?
No, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. That was nice and easy. Well, I guess when we get into testimony, I don't see Michelle Matson here. She registered to testify remotely, but her testimony is in miscellaneous communication 443, and she suggests quarterly. So that's a suggestion from an interested community member. Do we have anyone here in the chambers who'd like to testify? No? Yes? Okay.
Angela Melody Young from CARES. So I'm just going to testify, and it's kind of a question from the prior discussions. If the trustees have consulted with the AG, because the AG is the trust policy consultant. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Clerks, I know we do have a registered remote testifier, Michelle Matson. I don't see her on here, but again, she did submit written testimony, which is miscellaneous communication 443. Clerks, is there anyone else standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, very well. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Councilmember Wire.
No, I was just going to say I'm open to quarterly. I mean, I don't know if we should, well, that works for me.
Great. Well, we'll take that under advisement. It's up to, I guess, all of us as the trustees operating both separately and distinctly from our roles as council members to do so. But yes, more frequent meetings, and this counts. So, Judge, this counts. All right, members, any further discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, we've exhausted our agenda for today. We will have another meeting at some point in the next few months, whether it's quarterly or some other level of frequency. And at that time, we can bring up some other topics that come up. So, yes, and it depends on, everyone's committee schedule. All right. There being no further business, thank you for everyone being here and for your participation. There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned. It's 3:02. Mahalo.